The ornamental horticulture sector in the UK is currently worth more than £1 billion a year. £1 billion, an incredible figure, and a figure that has increased substantially over recent years. There are real tangible opportunities for growers in Wales to tap into this expanding market by supplying some of the many garden centres and wholesale nurseries across the country. In this film we'll explore one such case study. It focuses on a family-run garden centre and wholesale nursery near Welshpool and the strong relationships it has developed with 4 of its local suppliers. You'll get to learn how each of the growers first started up and then developed their business, while we'll also cover some of the basics you'll need to bear in mind when setting up a new nursery, such as ground preparation, watering and irrigation, and issues with access and infrastructure.
I'm Andy Joseph. Me and Kathy started Dingle Nurseries 43 years ago. The farm my parents ran was too small for 2 families, so they encouraged me to start a small nursery. When we started, we grew seedlings, and it's quite magic seeing a little seedling germinate and taking cuttings, plants, your little cuttings grow roots, and then at first you feel like money growing on trees when you're taking the cuttings and rooting them and then selling them.
Okay, I'm Kathy Joseph and I manage Derwen Garden Centre. The garden centre came about because it was the ideal spot, I think, for selling plants retail, and we love to have local growers to grow plants for us.
I'm Marcus King from Crimmin Nurseries at Welshpool. In the beginning we used to grow bedding plants in a polytunnel in my parents' garden, and then that spread to a couple of hanging baskets for the local pub, a few more for another hotel, and the business expanded from there really. And when they sold the house, we acquired this land and then expanded the business from there. And we acquired the greenhouse that we're stood in now. We've added on to this piece by piece over the years.
My name's Gary Swain. I'm the owner of Four Crosses Nurseries in Four Crosses, Mid Wales. We started growing plants back in 1990. The reason I started growing plants was because it was my dad had a bit of spare ground, and since then it's expanded to what I've got today. Well, I grew up at home at my dad's place for about 6-7 years, and we had the opportunity to buy some land, 10 acres of land down here. I took that and we started developing that site, and then another 6 acres came up next to that and we bought that after, and we've continued to develop the nursery since then.
Hi, I'm Callum Johnston, and this is Templeton Nurseries, and my main markets have been to local shops and the Derwen.
I'm Mike Schoen. This is hopefully Forden Nurseries in the planning. The business we propose to start is growing 4 dingle nurseries, hopefully hardy nursery stock, the general staples for the landscape trade. Initially we plan on starting with approximately 1.5 acres. We plan on putting up 4 polytunnels to start with some outside growing space, which currently has been grazed at the moment with sheep and cattle. Hopefully it will give us a better return or yield on the fields. The reason mainly being is with having dingle nurseries on our doorstep, and they currently buy a lot from the continent. Obviously with them being very close to us, they're a very good consumer of our product.
Kathy and I developed the wholesale side of the business and eventually concentrated on selling to landscape contractors. And had to start buying abroad then because we had to have a much wider range. The landscape architects, they want to make their scheme different from everybody else's, so that meant we had to source exotic plants.
Our other premises is about a mile down the road. It's about 1 acre, which requires polytunnels and outside standing beds. There would be scope for expansion down there, but it's all agricultural land around it, and the farmer doesn't really want to sell any more land. It's a site we don't really want to move from because all our services are there, water, electricity. It's all got planning permission for the entrance, so it's all set up just to be expanded down there really.
We developed the ground by, we had local contractors in to come put the roads in. We bought polytunnels, which we put up ourselves. We put a ground cover down, this black Mypex here, you can see, which suppresses the weeds and keeps the weeds down. So you've got a barrier between the ground and the plants you're growing. Put the irrigation in as well. We're on a very high water table, so we're allowed to extract water from that up to a certain amount, which is 20 cubic metres. But we soon realised we're going to need a lot more water than that. So we invested in a borehole, and no issues with water at all now.
My intention was to always from the start was to grow in pots, and so water was from the start a major concern, to have enough water to know that you can consistently water through the summer. So as we're on a well, my first concern was to know that we'd have enough water to survive over dry periods. The advantage of being located close to the Derwen and the Dingle are that you can give them a better service. If they get their big deliveries from big nurseries at the beginning of the season, what I can do is later on in the season I can fill up the gaps which the big nurseries aren't willing to do, because they're talking about it's too big a delivery size, isn't it? So services and flexibility, that's the thing.
We decide what we're going to grow usually from a contract from the Dingle. We pick off the list what we're actually good at growing, what works well for us in our timescale, which is from June to the end of February, really.
We buy from local growers 15 to 20%. We'd like to increase that, of course. You just have a closer relationship with local growers.
Trading with local business is obviously there's the obvious advantages of that. The transport is cheaper, way cheaper, because it's just down the road, so that's easy. Also, we can build up a good relationship because we can see each other regularly and talk about problems or issues or things they want to do, or I think we can do. So that's a big advantage. If they've had a similar issue, I can talk to them about it and they'll talk to me about some of the issues they got. So that can be a big advantage that can save you a lot of time and effort.
So having the Dingle and the Derwen, such a large wholesaler on our doorstep, is an advantage to us. Transport's not a big issue. We deliver all the plants ourselves. It has helped our business to expand and develop, and there is scope to do more.
The biggest advantage of having something like this grown by a local nursery is that you know the hardiness of it. Their delivery cost is significantly less than if we got it from further away, and anyone can do it. As long as they've got determination and they've got incentive to do it, it's easy, and it's a really good way to get a business started. And a good way to make money, actually, because the demand is always there. People are always going to have gardens and they'll always want to fill them up. You can't really beat it.
I think the main thing is that we're 500, 600 feet up, and so people who buy plants that have emanated from us can know that they're hardy. I think the other advantage of not having plants bought in from a long distance is they can also be fairly sure that they're disease-free. I like growing plants, I like being outside, it's an enjoyable way of life.
The smallest viable nursery is probably about 2 acres. For one person that would be, and if they were employing somebody they'd have to add a bit more to that. By trial and error really we've learnt what grows around here and what conditions plants need, and that knowledge is really a big help to anybody who wanted to start a business here, and we're very keen to help people start growing because we feel it's a big advantage to us to have local people.
If they've got the desire and the ambition, I think they can learn quite quickly what to do, especially farmers. They are already growing things all the time. We've found so far that they produce very good stock. If someone came to us saying they wanted to grow plants for us, well, we would talk about how much ground they've got, what sort of ground it is, where it is, how much time they were willing to give to the project, talk about numbers and go and see their ground. It would be well worth your while to get in touch with us and see if we can get our heads together and produce some good plants.
Yeah, I tried trees, but I think you need to be on quite a big scale for trees. You need a lot of land, I think the money's there to be made if you're willing to wait for a bit of an investment and give yourself a bit of time. I could see where the market was going almost in the fact that with the pots, they're available to be planted all year, so your cash flow is a bit better.
When we do bedding in here in sort of March, April, May, we do fill every square inch and sell it.
Preparation before we start planting obviously will include that the field will be stock proof. So we need to make sure we've got roadway access, we need to make sure we've got water in place, and the fundamentals of keeping the site secure and safe.
We've got a wonderful opportunity here really to have more growers in the area. We're able to sell the plants. We're buying in a lorry load of plants every day from outside this area. Virtually all of those could be grown here.
If you want to go into the nursery trade, I think first thing is a 7-day-a-week job. You need a good supply of water if you're going to grow containers. I think farmers looking to diversify it there's potential to diversify into plants. A lot of the requirements in the nursery trade are similar to farming. You need tractors and a bit of machinery and some reasonably good land, flattish land. Stuff used on farm like diggers and stuff like that can be used on the nursery. So I think there is potential for farming to move into the ornamental sector. I would say it's, according to my accountant, it's far better than farming. I'll leave it like that.
So there we have it. The opportunities are clearly there for other similar examples to the case study we've just seen. More Welsh growers supplying more Welsh grown plants to more garden centres across Wales and further afield too. The land is there, the market is there, and the potential reward is there too.